Hello, dear students. Welcome again. Today we are going to have our third session of the chapter The Three Orders, and we are going to study about the factors affecting social and economic relations. Now, while the members of the first two orders saw this social system as stable, there were several processes that were transforming this system. The three factors that affected feudalism and led to its gradual transformation were the changes that were taking place in the environment, the different ways in which the land was being used, and new agricultural technology that was being brought in. First, let's look at the first factor, that is environment. From the 5th to the 10th centuries, most of Europe was covered with vast forest. So the land available for agriculture was very limited. At this time, Europe was also undergoing an intensely cold climatic spell. Because of this severe and prolonged winters, the growing season for crops was shortened by a month. As a result, the yield from agriculture also reduced. Then from the 11th century, Europe entered a warm phase. This gave a longer growing season, and the soil also, which was subjected to less frost, could now be easily ploughed. Forests were being cut down, and more land was being brought under cultivation. So the cultivable area was expanding. Agricultural technology at this time was very primitive. The peasants were using ox-drawn wooden plough, and this wooden plough was unable to fully draw out the natural productivity of the soil. So they required more labor. So agriculture was labor intensive. Labor of animals, labor of human beings was required. The method of crop cultivation was also ineffective. The land was divided into two parts. One field was planted in autumn with winter wheat, and the other was left fallow. Now, rye was planted on this piece of fallow land the next year, while the other half was put to fallow. Now, the land did not get enough time to be left fallow and regain its fertility. As a result, the soil started deteriorating, and the crops then also were not very good quality, resulting in chronic malnutrition, and of course, the crops were not enough to feed the increasing population. Then there were devastating famines, and all this made life difficult for the poor. Now, despite these hardships, the lords were anxious to maximize their incomes. They knew since it's not possible to increase the output from the land, they forced the peasants to bring more land under cultivation. So the peasants now had to spend more time doing this than they were actually legally bound to do. Now the peasants did not bow down to this oppression easily. Since they knew that they could not protest openly, they resorted to some form of passive resistance. So what they started doing was they started spending more time on cultivating their own field and kept much of the product of their labor for themselves. They also started avoiding performing unpaid extra service. And they often came into conflict with the lords over pasture land and forest land. They felt that this land was resources which could be used by everyone, the whole community, while the lords always treated this as their private property. Now, new agricultural technology was being introduced by 11th century. Instead of the basic wooden plough which was being used earlier, cultivators started using heavy iron-tipped ploughs and mold boards. Now these ploughs could easily dig much deeper, and the mold boards turned the topsoil properly. As a result of this, the nutrients from the soil were better utilized, resulting in better crops. Then the method of harnessing animals to the plough also improved. Instead of the neck harness, shoulder harness came to be used. Now, with this, the animals were able to exert greater power. The horses also now were better shod with iron horseshoes, These horseshoes prevented foot decay. I'll just show you a picture. Then there was instead of use of wind and water energy for agriculture. Increased use was there. More water powered and wind powered mills were set up all over Europe for milling the corn and also pressing the grapes. You can see in this picture how now the first picture is showing the neck harness, and the next one shows the shoulder harness, because of which more pressure could be exerted. And then this is the horseshoe, which is fixed to the hoof, and this prevented foot decay. Now there were changes in the land use pattern. They switched from a 2-field to a 3-field system. Peasants could use a field for 2 years out of 3 if they planted it with one crop in autumn and a different crop in spring, a year and a half later. So the first field with wheat or rye in autumn for human consumption, the second field was used in spring, and they grew over here peas, beans, lentils for human use, and oats and barley for the horses. And the third field was left fallow to regain fertility. Each year they rotated the use among the 3 fields. Now let's look at the results of this new agricultural technology. Now, increase in the amount of food produced from each unit of land led to more food availability. It doubled. The greater use of plants like peas, beans meant more vegetable proteins in the diet of the average European, and a better source of fodder for the animals also. So, it increased the nutrition for both animals as well as human beings. For cultivators, it meant better opportunities. They could now produce more food from less land. The average size of a peasant's farm now shrank from 100 acres to 20 to 30 acres. Now, when they had less land to cultivate, less labor was required, and this left them free time for other activities as well. Now, the peasants could set up small forges and smithies in the villages where iron tipped plows, horseshoes, etc. could be made and also could be repaired. From the 11th century, the personal bonds that had been the basis of feudalism started weakening, and this was as a result of economic transactions were becoming more and more money based. The lords also found it convenient to ask for rent in cash rather than accepting services. The cultivators started selling their crops for money instead of exchanging for goods. They sold it to the traders, and these traders would take it to the market in the towns and earn money from it. This increasing use of money began to influence prices, which became higher in times of poor harvest because there was shortage of goods, so there was increase in the price. In England, agricultural prices doubled between the 1270s and the 1320s. Now we look at a new group of people coming in as the towns are developing, which may be a fourth order. Let's see. Expansion in agriculture led to growth in population. More food, the number of deaths were reducing, increase in population. Trade was developing, towns were growing. From roughly 42 million in 1000, Europe's population stood at 62 million around 1200 and 73 million in 1300. By the 13th century, an average European could expect to live 10 years longer than the person in the 8th century. And this was a result of better food. Better nutritious food meant longer lifespan. But women and girls had shorter lifespan compared to men, because the men ate better food, because it's a common thinking that men are doing hard labor, so they require more nutritious food, and women and girls did not take that nutritious food. It was only later they realized that even they require nutritious food. And then the thinking changed. Growth of towns. Peasants who had surplus, that means who had extra grain, they wanted to sell it in the market, and for that they needed a place where they could sell. This led to periodic fairs. Occasionally, they used to have fairs where people from different places would get their goods and sell it. And they had small marketing centers also. This gradually developed town like features. Like it had a town square, it has a church, then roads where merchants built shops and homes, and offices where those who governed the town could meet. In certain places, towns grew around castles, bishops' estates, or even large churches. Towns offered the prospect of paid work and freedom from the lord's control. So many young people from peasant families would leave their village and move towards town in search for other jobs. Now, this was a common saying at that time that town air makes free. Many serfs who wanted to be free, they ran away and hid in towns. And it was said that if a serf could stay for 1 year and 1 day without his lord discovering him, he could become a free man. So many serfs ran away to become free. Many people in towns were free peasants or escaped serfs who came to the town, and here they provided unskilled labor. Then there were shopkeepers and merchants who came to sell their goods here. They had their shops. As the towns grew and trade continued to expand, town merchants became rich and powerful, and sometimes they became rivals to the power of the nobility. Later on, as markets developed, merchants became prosperous, there were need for specialized skills like bankers and lawyers. Bankers were required to give loan to these traders, and lawyers to sign how deals would be signed, what proportion of profit will be kept. All that was decided by lawyers. So these new professions came in. In towns, instead of services, people paid a tax to the lords who owned the land and on which the town stood. That means the town was developed on a land which belonged to some noble, so a tax was paid to him. Then there were guilds. Guilds are an association of craftsmen or traders in the town. Each craft or industry in the town was organized into a guild. Now, this guild controlled the quality of the product. It made sure that there were certain standards that were fixed so that the product is of good quality. Then the price at which it was sold in the market should be such that the workers who have worked would get sufficient money for their sustenance, and how it would be sold in the market. All this was decided by the guilds. They were like the trade unions that we have today. The guild hall was a feature of every town. Every town had this guild hall, and this was a building for ceremonial functions where heads of these goods and these guilds would come regularly, meet, discuss, and decide whatever rules and regulations they were to follow. Then, as merchants became more rich and people became affluent, they started donating money in the name of God to seek his blessings. So rich merchants donated money for cathedrals. Now cathedrals are large churches. Now different people contributed in their own way. Some gave money for the construction of these churches. Some provided free labor while working in the construction. Some gave materials for construction. These cathedrals were built of stone, and it took many years to complete. As they were being built over the years, the area around the cathedral also became more populated. And when they completed, they became centers of pilgrimage. So people came here to pay respects. The small towns developed around them. These cathedrals were designed in such a way so that the priest's voice could easily be heard clearly within the hall, because large number of people would gather, and it was important that they could hear what the priest was saying, and also so that the singing by the monks could sound beautiful. These cathedrals and churches had chiming bells that would call the people to prayer. So it was placed in such a way that it could be heard over a great distance. The windows of these churches and cathedrals were stained glass was used for these windows, and they were beautifully painted. Stained glass painting was being done in such a way that during the day the sunlight from outside would make them radiant, and people from inside the cathedral could see it. And after sunset, when the candles in the churches were lit, it would make them visible to the people from outside. These stained glass windows narrated the stories in the Bible through pictures, and the basic idea was that the illiterate people who couldn't really read the Bible, they could see the paintings and could relate to various incidents of Christianity. Now you can see this is a picture of a church window which has stained glass, and you can see these paintings, they are all related to the life of Christ. So this is all for this session. We'll meet again in the fourth session of the three orders. Thank you and have a nice day.